Ubisoft has a very special place in my heart, right? You know, the type of place where you become an active professional hater against that thing. And it's 100% justified because Ubisoft is the one company that is actively hostile against its paying fucking customers, by the way, and just means to appease this corporate ideological crowd that doesn't play their games. Like, I need you to understand this. These people they're trying to appease do not play their games, right? Like, it's Ubisoft that called the UK police on their paying fucking customers because, oh, they committed the speech of hate. Oh, shit. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean, right? So Ubisoft has a special place in my heart, and I will forever sing the downfall of Ubisoft. Because I asked someone on X, Twitter, why companies don't use like VTubers, and I think he was an ex Ubisoft employee. I think it was Ubisoft, but I mean, he said, well, Ubisoft doesn't really have a face to it. Like, what character would they be able to be to? Like, there's that one girl, Jade, from Beyond Good and Evil 1, but that was years ago. So I was like, what face would they put on? And two, people would boycott it just out of ideological principle, right? Because, you know, because this is what's happening with most VTubers. You know, there's always that crowd that will go after them for idiotic reasons. Like, the publishers would boycott them, the payment processors would boycott them, people inside the fucking company would boycott them. So, what you have is Ubisoft attempting to appease the people who actually buy their fucking products. But no matter where you turn, they just cannot do that. So, and that's not where the interest is in. The interest of Ubisoft is to get government grants and investor money. But then I seen this video, right? And it turns out even the fucking investors are throwing hands at Ubisoft. So, enough of the intro. Let's just get into this.
Oh, what a terrible thing it would be to be a Ubisoft employee and wake up this beautiful Monday morning. A severe case of the Mondays of astronomical proportions, as Ubisoft is experiencing fallout with its own investors as their Star Wars Outlaws game is failing financially and their company's stocks are tanking. We're going to go through it today by first looking at Ubisoft stock prices on Yahoo Finance. I pulled it up. You guys have to see how their company has done during the entirety of their existence. In 2014 September, they were at 13 euros, or close to around that number, and since then, almost 10 years later exactly, they are now at the same price as their stocks have tanked, to which investors are blaming that on the quarterly revenue. But many people know that Star Wars Outlaws has a lot to do with this, as well as the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversy. It seems that this company cannot catch a break no matter what they do, as only a couple.
And the question is, what good games do Ubisoft come out with nowadays? Like, I liked For Honor for a little bit until I broke away from that abusive relationship with that game, right? But, okay, Outlaws, garbage. Shadow's gonna be garbage. What good, oh, let's say this, what good Assassin's Creed game came out in the past 5 years? What was Valhalla? The past 5 years, but Valhalla was good because it wasn't Assassin's Creed. Like, there was no Assassin's Creed mechanics in there at all. But I'm really struggling to find what good games can do Ubisoft have to its name in the past 5 years. Because I really cannot think of it. Like Dance Dance, what is it? Dance Dance Revolution, right? But that's something VTubers use or you throw on and just I don't know, fuck around. But again, you really struggle to find any good products because the point of Ubisoft is to make games for gamers. That is the point of Ubisoft. But they cannot even do that, is the problem.
Of days ago, it seems, when they had these investors meetings, when they were having these conversations on how to proceed with their games and their company, they took a nosedive. And one explanation provided by a user shows that it may be because the investors let it happen. As you can see here, on the 5th of September, the price was up to $14.70 and then it just dipped all the way down to $13.45. Now, of course, as usual, people love to buy into the dip, and then they were able to recover it about a quarter of the way, but we know how these things go. Even when it recovers, it will eventually take another nosedive if the trend is to be trusted. And the reason I say that is because it's happened before. A couple of days ago, it took a nosedive and then people tried to help it recover but failed. And then it happened again prior with a nosedive and then people tried to help it recover but failed. And that is a trend that you see repeat itself over and over, and it has gotten progressively worse ever since the release of the Star Wars Outlaws game. So let's take a look at this post from Dr. Sirkin Toto. I don't want to beat this to death, but Ubisoft stock in Paris is currently dropping another 9%. Market cap is down to 1.7 billion euros or US $1.9 billion. And yes, Ubisoft is seriously going through it. Now, of course, this is a quote tweet from a previous tweet he made. Investors seem very disappointed about Star Wars Outlaws sales numbers and let Ubisoft stock crash. So this might actually explain why Ubisoft took such a huge hit, at least financially, from within its own investors circle. Shares lost over 10% combined in the last 2 days, so the company just slipped to under 2 billion in market cap in Paris. Ubisoft is almost at a 10-year low. Now, I do know that Ubisoft...
And what this kind of tells me is, are they trying to step out of the market of games? Because usually, and my interest in stocks isn't, and my knowledge of stocks isn't too big, but usually when you try to lower the price, I mean, you can argue insider trading, but and it's odd that that's such a difficult thing to even put the court. Like, they don't take the actions of the investors as proof. They're looking for logs, they're looking for text, they're looking for literally anything else but the actions that were taken. This is what happened with Unity, right? Where everyone's like, okay, they're short selling. Why? Because all the upper management sold their stocks. But for some reason, in that case, they're like, oh, we found no evidence. And it's like, okay, well, if the actions isn't the fucking evidence, I don't know what the fuck else to tell you. But a lot of like retirement funds are behind, like Blizzard, behind Ubisoft, behind this, behind that. And if you actively do things to lower the stock of your company, you should absolutely be held responsible by the stockholders, by the investors, by the people that invest. Because again, maybe that you have, like, I don't know, COVID happen or things that are completely out of your control. Okay, people understand, okay, well, you know, things that you couldn't control happen, and because of that, people don't put much stock in that. But if you actively refuse to release good products, because at the end of the day, this is what Ubisoft should do. It should be making good fucking products. The problem is they are not doing that. They are not making good games. They are not making games for gamers. And that's where this is happening. And no one has, and even Assassin's Creed Shadow that hasn't come out yet. People have no faith in.
Ubisoft was having meetings about this. They were having meetings about how to proceed with both their games and with their business. And now investors are writing open letters to this company, not only asking for structural and strategic changes, but they're now asking for prices to be lowered, staff to be fired, and for the removal of the CEO himself. And you guys have to see this story for yourself so that you understand how bad this is for Ubisoft. This is from Tech Raptor. Activist Ubisoft investor calls for strategic and structural change. And I've also seen this story on the Wall Street Journal, although I did not provide that story today. A company that serves as a significant minority shareholder. These guys have a lot of money in this company. Ubisoft has called for major structural and strategic change at the studio and has expressed deep dissatisfaction with Ubisoft's current direction. So they are not happy with what Ubisoft is doing, as well as millions of gamers out there. But hey, let's not listen to them. Their opinions don't matter. In an open letter to Ubisoft's board of directors, which CC's CEO Yves Guillemot and stakeholder Tencent, investment company AJ Investments criticizes Ubisoft's current performance and strategic direction. Now, just so you all know,
I forgot Ubisoft was over Rainbow Six. Okay, maybe Rainbow Six is something that's keeping them fucking afloat. I mean, that has a big esports. The Division, the Ubisoft recent quarter results saw coming release The Division and Rainbow Six Mobile. What? So they're trying to make products again for this quote unquote wider audience that doesn't exist. This is why so many games are moving to mobile, because they want to dip into other markets, you know, other things. But I look at this and I'm like, okay, so I'm not the targeted audience anymore. And this is the issue, right? Because if you're trying to make a product not for your targeted audience, for this mythical wider audience, I mean, we already seen so many cases of that failing. So the question is, why do they do this? Like, even if you look at the charts, like so many companies, like Xbox for fuck's sake, decided it wasn't going to make products for its targeted demographic. And when it made that decision, it completely lost to PlayStation. So again, when I see mobile games, when I see remakes, or not like remakes, like I guess these are prequels, like The Division was already something that exists. Rainbow Six is already something that exists. There's very few. They're making yet another Assassin's Creed. There are very few new titles coming out from Ubisoft. And it's like, okay, so they're not taking risks, but they're still demanding investor money. Like, I don't really know what the fuck's going on. And the CEO should absolutely take responsibility for this.
No, AJ Investments is a hedge fund in Slovakia. So these guys are all about investments. They invest into anything. And in fact, Raptor here says that they are an activist investment company. AJ Investments says Ubisoft's recent quarterly results, which saw upcoming releases The Division Resurgence and Rainbow Six Mobile pushed back beyond March next year, have heightened its concerns about management's ability to deliver results for shareholders. So they don't trust Ubisoft to be able to deliver anymore. And now they're calling them out for that. They set out 4 proposals to increase the value of Ubisoft for all stakeholders. They include allowing Ubisoft to go private, selling the company, changing current management, and ousting Guillemot as CEO. They're like, get rid of this guy. He's ruining everything, and he's making us all go broke. The DEI initiative apparently is not working, or at least...
Yeah, I mean, again, DEI was this ideological Trojan horse that was thrusted upon companies, and most companies took it to cover their ass. Like, this isn't something that makes the product any better. This is something that sucks in money. It leeches money off the company, right? Because, okay, diversity, that happens naturally, right? Even in the fucking 1970s, you had diverse movies. in TV shows. Equity. I mean, what the fuck does that have to do with the product? I mean, yeah, I think the product should be cheaper. I think the product should run on smaller rigs, but what you see is these games cost thousands of fucking gigs. You can only run it if you have a 490, right? You know, they don't run in 4K. I mean, they're buggy, broken, unplayable. And I fucking forgot Skull and Bones was even a fucking thing. That absolute travesty. And in inclusion, it's like, if you have hands, and if you can pick up a remote, and if you actually care about the game, obviously you're included. Like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with gaming? Or what does this have to do with games as a product? Because what we see is these initiatives make worse games. And again, these aren't definitions. Like, they use a completely different definition of diversity, right? They don't use the same definition your mother would use. They use this completely ideological version that they don't want to explain, because I don't think they can explain. It's almost like this unicorn. And Ubisoft is just another company that's figuring out, wow, okay, this isn't working. Like, we have this to cover our ass, right? Legally. But it's not making the product better.
Whatever strategic play Ubisoft has had in the works for some time, it just has not been doing them any favors, especially in the money market. As for its reasoning, AJ, investors say that Ubisoft is being mismanaged and that shareholders are currently hostages of Guillemot family members and Tencent who take advantage of them. So not only are they saying that
I'm gonna keep pausing the video. Isn't Ubisoft owned by this, like, French family? And when they first made Ubisoft, right, when they first made games, they were actually passionate about games, but as they grew older, they started delegating a lot. And this is why they want people to get fired and they want things to get shortened, because it's an over-bloated global company and it's failing to even release the products it should. It's failing to release games for gamers. It's failing to entertain people. So usually and it's obvious that what people want are smaller, more concise games, concise, like, forms of art. But what does Ubisoft do? Oh, yet another Assassin's Creed, yet another Star Wars bullshit, yet another Rainbow Six bullshit on mobile, right? And it's an odd situation where the people, like this ruling family, started out caring about gaming as an art form, gaming as a hobby, but now they're old and decrepit and they delegate so much and they just suck in money regardless. They suck in dividends regardless of how the company goes. And like he said, now they're effectively hostages. Because, like, oh, invest more money to us or we crash our stock and screws you over.
the CEO should be ousted because of his mismanagement of the company, but they are also saying that they're hostages to him and his family who have control of the majority of the company. So they're saying his whole family needs to be gone. This is incredible, guys. The company goes on to say that it cannot understand Ubisoft's management strategy and that the studio seems more focused on pleasing investors rather than providing an exceptional experience for its fans. And this is something that gamers have been saying for the longest time, for months, maybe even years appears
Right, for
when
the
it comes
past
to
6-7
Ubisoft
years.
specifically that this company has no idea how to handle its video games, it has no idea how to handle its fans, and it has no idea especially how to handle criticism. And criticism is one of the biggest things that they have had to endure. AJ investors claim that many of the studio's IPs, including Rayman, Watch Dogs, and Splinter Cell, are being underutilized. And I agree with that. When is the last time we had a Splinter Cell game? That's right, a year before Ubisoft stock prices started to go up. Splinter Cell has not seen a title in over a decade, ever since the last one that came out in 2013. But there are other games that Ubisoft is neglecting in order to push games like Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, games that are riddled in controversy of different natures, different types, and are being scolded and vilified by gamers everywhere. And
Yeah, they're just trying to, you know, stick to the things that sell, right? And they're throwing IPs that don't sell, like they don't care about, like Watch Dogs will sell, just out the window. But they refuse to sell the IPs because they don't want other people to do anything good with them. It's like the Microsoft situation where they buy up studios, they buy up IPs, and they shelve them. Like they don't do a damn thing with them. They just ensure that nobody else does. And this bastardized gaming as an art or as a hobby because it becomes corporate and no longer, you know, making games for gamers or making games for fans.
now the stock prices are dropping, investors are panicking, and requests like these are being made. The company does, however, say that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was merely okay. Yeah, I guess it was okay. I've never played it. I have played the other Prince of Persias because I actually love the original games, but that nobody talks about the game anymore, which is also true. I don't see anybody talking about it. That's probably because it's a single-player game everyone's finished, guys. Not every game needs to be headline news every day of the week, which I also agree with, and they have provided.
I mean, I disagree. Like, because we see single player titles that are good, Black Myth Wukong, and people absolutely do talk about. I mean, you should strive to have single player game, any game at all, be headline news. Like, this is what it used to be back in 2006, 2007. Like, bangers were coming out every single fucking month. And the problem with me, as some snot-nosed fucking kid, was playing all the bangers. Now, as some grown-ass fucking adult, you'll be lucky to get 1, 2 good games, maybe every half a year or couple of months. And if you do, they come out of completely different countries on the planet. So like China, or like South Korea or Japan. I mean, and people, we don't want this. Like, it shouldn't be this way. You know, we should have good games coming out from AAA Western companies and developers, because it used to be that. Like, if it was never that way, people wouldn't be pissed off. But it used to be that way, which is why people are pissed off.
The letter with these requested changes that I'm going to read through just a little bit so that you can have receipts to share with all of your buddies. But further on into the letter, AJ Investors proposes several ways by which Ubisoft could improve its performance and its standing with shareholders. They include taking the company private for a fair price, as well as laying off staff, a procedure AJ Investors rather callously referred to as optimizing staff levels. So they're like trying to be super friendly when they say fire all these people. They're making things worse. Other recommendations include refocus.
What type of those people do you think they're going to fire? I think it's the consultants, the DEI hires, the people that leech and don't actually add to the product of making the game. That's what I think, if any. But, I mean, most companies, the CEO is just a figurehead. You know, he makes very little decisions. Like, most decisions are made by just a board of upper and middle management people. And, you know, again, they rake in money regardless. So, just holding the CEO accountable is something. I mean, holding his family accountable is something, but again, most decisions are made by committee.
Focusing on
And it's done this way to delegate blame, right? Because if it's just one person, I mean, then it's clear where to put the blame. But if it's a over bloated company, it's like, okay, who do you blame? Well, the CEO. Well, I doubt he makes any real decisions.
core IPs and another call for changes in management. This letter comes after industry analyst Serkan Toto, which is the guy I just referred to, pointed out last week that investors seem very disappointed about the sales of Star Wars Outlaws, with shares dipping 10% in just 2 days. So I think there is validity to the claim that investors just let this thing die. They're letting it die because Ubisoft isn't listening during earnings calls, and because gamers have lost complete faith in the company as a whole. Toto followed this up with another post today noting that stocks had fallen another 9% in Paris. So these stories do coincide, and I didn't actually know that until I read this paragraph right here. But we're still going to move on to the letter. So great job, Serkan Toto. Great job on that reporting there. And we're going to take a look at this letter that I have pulled up for you all to see. So 9/9/2024. So this was as of today, maybe even just a few hours ago, to the board of directors and members of committees Ubisoft Entertainment. And they did indeed CC Mr. Yves Guillemot, CEO and chairman of Ubisoft Entertainment, and they CC'd Tencent Holdings. So everyone is going to be reading this letter. The CEO gets to read the letter in which they ask for him to be fired.
Yep.
So he's probably panicking. He's like, how dare they write such nonsense and then send it to me? The nerve, the gall, the audacity. Dear members of the board, dear fellow shareholders, as a significant minority shareholder in Ubisoft Entertainment via AJ Investments and our partners, we are writing to express our deep dissatisfaction with the current performance and strategic direction of the company. The recent quarterly results, which included the postponement of key games like Rainbow Six Siege and The Division into the 2025 lineup, and a lowered revenue outlook for the Q2 2024, have heightened our concerns about the management's ability to deliver value to shareholders over the long term. Share price of Ubisoft had decreased by more than 40% over the last year, which is horrible for a video game company as big as Ubisoft, compared to rise of its competitors and indexes. And there have been a lot of companies as of recently that have taken to the skies with their revenue on their video games that they have made. Black Myth Wukong, hello. But they say this letter consists of following points. Take Ubisoft.
And again, you have just so many cases of games actually doing better. And again, they look at these, and I guess it's this level of corporate stubbornness that most CEOs have. I know Creative Assembly has this when it comes to Total War. It's like they treat you like their game or their product is like God's gift to humanity. And they're like, no, you absolutely need this product. What people are saying is, no, we don't. You know, other game companies exist. Like, Ubisoft isn't this microcosmos where specific types of entertainment can only be purchased from them. No, there are other entertainment, there are other forms of entertainment, there are other entertainment companies, there are other gaming companies, there are other fucking games. But most companies don't understand this. Is like, no, we are the God anointed by, well, I guess according to this, we're anointed by DEI to sell this product, which isn't a game for some reason. It's not the game. It's ideological marketing or something like that.
Private, or allow it to sell it to strategic investor. Ubisoft valuation, why we believe Ubisoft is great, undervalued company and should be worth between 40 to 45 euro per share. Our concerns about the future of the company and our proposals. So they say take private process by PE firms or Guillemot family plus Tencent at fair price. Allow sale process as we are in discussion with investors to fight against Guillemot family with so-called proxy fight at extraordinary shareholder meeting. Change of the current management. So they say start hiring process of new CEO who will optimize the cost and studio structure for more agile and competitive company as Ubisoft should be. I want to say that number 3 is probably the most brutal request in this entire list, because telling the CEO that he should be removed and then sending it to him, that's just so insulting, but kind of hilarious. But it also says to the rest of the company that they think the CEO is not optimizing the cost and studio structure. They're saying that he's doing nothing with the company, that he's not doing anything to improve it, and that he needs to be gone. Now, this is the guy that said that Star Wars Outlaws was going to be an incredibly successful video game, and that their marketing campaign for it was going to be astronomically and beautifully executed. But it appears
corporate buzzwords, like they have to say this, but anyone with 2 neurons to rub together and form a synapse was like, no, this game's gonna be garbage. Like, it's a game where you're an outlaw, but you can't rob from people. You can only rob from the stormtroopers, and you can't shoot and kill any of the animals. You can only pet them. Like, it's a game where every single fundamental aspect of the game is not for you, the gamer. It's for, I don't know, some ideological group of people that was like, oh no, you cannot do this in our game. We will not allow you to do this. Something that would absolutely make sense given the setting of the game. Like,
appears that after all was said and done, it was nothing but a fizzle in the wind. We will use the French minority law to collect enough shareholders to start proxy fight and initiate sale process of Ubisoft to increase shareholder value for all shareholders. So they're saying that we're going to take this to the next level. AJ Investments are going to try and start a battle of the shareholders, if you will, so that they wield enough power in order to sell Ubisoft as a company. So they're going to try and force sell the company in an attempt to put Ubisoft and its CEO in their places. So Ubisoft valuation, we believe that Ubisoft is a great company developing, distributing, and selling video games. Ubisoft has long-standing history with providing great experience for players all around the world. Their IP such as Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Tom Clancy's, Just Dance, Crew, Rayman, and others are extraordinary and can attract millions of players over time. However, we believe that Ubisoft at current valuation is deeply undervalued and should be worth between 40 to 45 euro per share. But I think that this is the cream of the crop right here. This is the best part of this open letter to Ubisoft. It says that Ubisoft at current state is mismanaged and shareholders are hostage of Guillemot family members and Tencent who take advantage of them. Management is focused on pleasing investors with beating quarterly results and not focused.
Tencent is a Chinese company, right? A Chinese tech company, and I think if you want to sell a product in China, like, you need to effectively give Tencent a good portion of your stock and a good portion of ownership, and through them is where the product is, or the games are sold.
Focusing on long-term strategy to provide exceptional experience for the gamers. I think that this is incredibly ironic. Coming from a hedge fund company like AJ Investments, they're even saying that Ubisoft is prioritizing quarterly results over the satisfaction of gamers. So they're like, hey, you guys are supposed to be gamer pleasers. You guys aren't pleasing anybody, though. You're just far too busy getting money. It's just so funny that it's coming.
Oh no, they are actively hostile against you and the fans. Or, the gamers. The fans, the consumer. They do not want me as a consumer, right? Me, someone who's played the game. Like, they want drones to just buy their product. They want to make games for, like, dads, people who don't really have much time to consume and don't really consume it as a form of art, but mostly as something to just shut your brain off to, Then they want ideological individuals to defend their product from people like me who will call them out on their bullshit. They want, at least in the case of Assassin's Creed Shadow, they want Japan, which is the country that the game's supposed to be revolved around, to shut the fuck up and have Ubisoft inject its Western values into the Japanese game. And at their point, they did tout Assassin's Creed Shadow to be historically accurate, and people understood it because other Assassin's Creed games were historically accurate. Like when Notre Dame burnt down, they used the 1-for-1 scaling of Notre Dame in an Assassin's Creed game to rebuild it. Like they used to hire historians to try to make their games as historically accurate as humanly possible. But in the case of Assassin's Creed Shadow, they decided somehow they decided no, we're not trying to do that anymore. When at first they were, but then a Japanese senator was like, okay, I'm gonna investigate this fucking game for historical inaccuracies. Then miraculously they're like, okay, we're not trying to be historically accurate. Right? They are actively hostile. They think they're this class of individuals that are this corporate company class that just should not be contradicted for any reason. No, because they adopted ideology, because they care more for the investors, because they have maybe government grants. And, well, at one point, investor money, maybe they have ESG money, but this hedge fund's being like, we're going to war with you now.
Coming from these people who are a hedge fund, even they see that Ubisoft is doing something horribly wrong and they're calling it out now. And AJ Investments is no small company. They are pretty big. Now, they do have a minority shareholder value, but it is significant as stated. So even though the majority shareholders probably have a ton more, these people still have enough of a claim to the company that they can say things like this and have an impact. And it really is having an impact, which is concerning. But this goes far beyond just trying to remove a CEO or his family or trying to gain control of a company. These people go as far as accusing this family of amassing control to sabotage future partnerships and to enrich themselves with shares that they buy at a really low value in order to maintain the control that they've had for so long. And this information is coming out really fast. It says right here that we believe that Guillemot family and Tencent are discounting potential value of Ubisoft in order to buy more shares at lower valuation and eventually take full control of the company at heavily discounted valuation. We value the great work that has been done by the Guillemots over the decade in the Ubisoft, but now is time to move on and restart the business with new shareholder approach and new management CEO. They do go on. By talking about February 1st, 2023, when the Guillemot entities acquired more than 4 million shares of Ubisoft with the money from Tencent. In our view, recent delays of certain titles there are creating uncertainty amongst investors as beneficial for Guillemot and Tencent in order to acquire more shares at even discounted valuation, as Ubisoft is currently trading close to €15 per share, lowest point since 2015, giving Ubisoft valuation less than €2 billion. So these guys up at Tencent, this family Guillemot, who are apparently branched into other things as well, these four brothers, are trying to attain full control of this company so that they don't have to do anything with it, so that they don't have to make any beneficial partnerships with any other companies that want to invest in it. Funny enough, one of those companies that they mention is actually Blackstone, which I'll point to in just a second, but they assume that because of Tencent and Activision Blizzard that they may use this as a tactic to get minority shareholders under the stress. The Guillemot family and Tencent owns more than 25% of shares, 29.63% of voting rights of Ubisoft, as the table shows below. So what AJ Investments plans to do is to take the remaining 70% of the shareholders of the company, the minority shareholders, based on their talks with other shareholders, they believe that they will have enough voting power to challenge the Guillemots and take the company from them completely so that they can transform it. Which brings us to an incredibly interesting portion of the argument that they are presenting here. They say that because of the management and governance that Ubisoft has been failing horribly. The control exercised in September 2022 by Tencent and the Guillemot family has effectively blocked potential acquisitions and partnerships that could have been beneficial for the company and its shareholders.
Yeah, because again, they don't want to give out their IPs. They don't want to give out a piece of their ownership to other partners and other people that could actually do something good with them, right? It's like the Games Workshop and Relic situation. You know, Games Workshop used to give its IPs to other companies, right? And that's how you had the Dawn of War series. But when it's like once an IP or once a company gets popular or gets enough money and has enough sway, they hold their IPs close to their chest, and they're like, no, we don't want you to do anything else. We will at our discretion. And once you get our IPs that are just underutilized because games cost like what, 5, 6, 7 years, or maybe games like Beyond Good and Evil 2 that'll probably never come out because it's been in development hell for so long. Like, that's what you get when you hold your IPs close to your chest.
And that's because the Galemos have been buying the dip repeatedly. More recently in 2022, private equity firms such as KKR and Blackstone expressed interest in acquiring Ubisoft, but were unable to proceed due to the existing agreements that prevent any single entity from gaining control without the Galemo and Tencent's consent. So that's it. They purposely sabotage beneficial partnerships with other companies that want to invest, and then once the share price starts tanking because people start losing faith in the company, the Galemo family and Tencent will buy at a very low price and then amass even more control over the company. So eventually...
Yeah, and they do this because they just want to live off the dividends. They want to have full control over IPs and just suck up the dividends, suck up whatever money that it makes. Right? Like, this is the action of a CEO that just wants to suck up money. And this comes at a loss to the consumer. And even at some point, a loss to the investors, right? Because, like, what the fuck, man? Now we have really no hard control or anything over this. And, like he said, they're held hostage.
Eventually, they will have full control, and AJ Investments picked up on this. They caught them in the act of trying to do this, and now they're trying to stop them. This is crazy, dude. But look at what's been happening to the company over the last 10 years. Look at what's been happening to Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Look what has been happening as these people keep pushing DEI, for example. Everything that they do, everything that the Galemos do with this company, they fail. And before people start saying, well, at least they said no to Blackstone, that doesn't mean that these people are any better. Look what they've done to the company and what kind of games they release. They may not be partnered with Blackstone, but they're certainly pushing what Blackstone wants 100%. This pattern of blocking potential acquisitions has prevented much needed restructuring.
So, I don't know. Would it be ESG money if BlackRock isn't? I mean, I don't know. Again, they just want to suck dividends and not really release a product to the consumer. And if you're a company and you're not releasing a product that the consumer wants, in most situations you just shouldn't exist, right? You should relinquish your IPs to people who will absolutely do something with them, and you just should not exist. But companies nowadays are so big that they effectively, at least AAA gaming companies are so big that they effectively can't fail, right? Or it will take a long process for them to do that, and at the end of the day, again, the consumer don't benefit, they lose. Hell, their workers lose because they're going to fire people now. And for some reason, you have this ideology that wants to blame the consumer. You know, the person that works for a fucking living, like they try to do with Concord, they blame the consumer. It's like, no, if you're not going to give me a product I don't want, I'm just not going to buy it. I mean, it's really just that simple. Like, I get it, your ideology demands you defend a multi-billion-dollar company because they have DEI, and it's like a switch that flips in your brain, and you go into protect mode, but people don't think like that. You know, people who work for a living don't think like that.
And revitalization that will benefit all the stakeholders of Ubisoft, and AJ Investments has recognized this because now they want to take the company from the Galemos. They must think that things are really bad at Ubisoft. We must not be seeing the entire big picture with this company and how in bad straits they truly are. And we are going to find out over the next few days how bad this really is, because I'm sure that people are going to start picking apart this open letter, which actually has a ton of information that spans from them describing describing the drops in stock prices over the last few years, amongst other things, operational efficiency, etc., etc. And this letter goes all the way down. It says that we encourage all the minority shareholders to contact us and support our initiative, and then they provide the email, sincerely, Jiraj Krupa, AJ Investments and Partners. So these guys are going to town on Ubisoft. They're ready to take over, and they've provided sufficient evidence to try and convince these shareholders to take their side and to buy this company. Ubisoft is in the middle of a war between itself and the people who invest in it, and the people in charge have been gatekeeping this company from having any kind of beneficial partnerships. And to be honest with you, that really does make a lot of sense when you think about how poorly their stock prices have been doing lately, and they just keep going.
Oh shit, my food's here. Yeah, I ain't editing this out. I'll be back. Fuck you. We're back, Lucy.
Going down. Even after Star Wars Outlaws was released, this company's prices have been going down. It has not made a recovery. And there's a good chance that the company might not act.
And for some reason, they don't think that online discourse about products really affect anything. Like, they want to close themselves off to the consumer and to what people are saying online, and just speak directly to the investors. But the investors absolutely take, previous products and what people say online into consideration. Like, you have to as an investor. It is in your interest to do this. Because, if you want to invest into a company, you got to see, okay, so what trend, what market is it delving into? Is there a need for this? And there'll always be a need for video games, right? I think video games is, a common good. But the problem is you have companies like Ubisoft that just fail to release good products. And when people see it, but you have companies out the bum fucking nowhere that can actually start releasing products. And you see this and you're like, well, what the fuck? Like, why would I invest in Ubisoft knowing good and well that their stock is just going to keep tanking and keep tanking, and then it tanks and they buy up more stocks so they tank it even more, and now I have no say in the matter, other firms have no say in the matter. It's like, it makes it's 100% reasonable why they'd go to war with this leading family mafia that's over Ubisoft.
Actually recover at all. And if you really take a look at everything that the Galemos have done for this company, they did good for a minute. I don't know how long they've been a part of this. I assume since almost the beginning, but really the company's price has gone down to below the point that it was.
I mean, what was that? Hold on. 2018? 2016? So what came out then? 2016. There was an Assassin's Creed. Yeah, Assassin's Creed was a Black Flag. The Division. I think Rainbow Six Siege came out around then too. And yeah, they had a lot of people coming in with that, and those were good products, right? Was that 2010? I can barely fucking see that. Oh no, 2015, yeah. So yeah, that at the time it went up because they were releasing good products and good games, right? And obviously it kept going up and down with DLCs and expansion packs and all that. But after that, you know, I know Assassin's Creed 3, I don't know if that came out around this time. But I know it was like maybe 2013. But then Black Flag came out, and Black Flag was that legitimately good. So, yeah, and again, you had this, and I'm going to feel stupid if I'm wrong. But yeah, good products were releasing at this point, but now it's like, no, not really much anymore.
At before September 2014. Ubisoft is in trouble, and AJ Investments is like, hey guys, you see how badly this company is doing? Let's take over. Let's change this company from the inside out. Now, if they take over and then they give it to Blackstone, I really don't think that anything is going to change. But regardless of which side you take in this investment war, one thing is for certain, Ubisoft is in dire straits. They are doing terribly, and gamers are seeing it happen in real time. And that is all I've got for you guys in this video today. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't had the chance to like it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.
Yeah, and again, this is a good video. But, I mean, Ubisoft is just one company that's falling into this, but I think it's just proving how running a company and like it's just some sort of like you're trying to mass produce art and mass produce gaming and just living off the dividends, like that doesn't work, because even the investors are going to find this out, and they find out, like, you hear the word DEI and you're like, so you're going to invest more into leeches that don't help the product, right? It just covers your ass, and you're actively hostile towards the consumer. It's like, yeah, no shit, your stocks are going to fall, and people are going to figure this out. And I guess to salvage this, they're buying up their own stock just so they can scrape together as much investor money as they possibly can. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, this should happen to many other companies, the gaming companies, right? But, I mean, Ubisoft is just going to be that one that people are hyper focused on. But I think this is a good thing. Like, again, Ubisoft needs to figure the fuck out that, you know, it's the gamers, it's the consumers you need to go toward, you need to make a product for, not the investors. And if it takes the investors to point this out, well, hey, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.